information station, live on demand on luinfo.com. I'm Jennifer Bardot, joined with the one and only Kelly Chandler.
Good morning, everybody. How are you, Jen?
Doing well. We don't have Mike here today, but we do have a special guest named Tom Wiley who will be introducing a little bit later. So, how was your weekend? What's been going on, Kelly?
It was good. We went to the lake to do some winterization, the Lake of the Ozarks I'm referring to. So that was nice. It was actually fairly warm. And it was cute to see a lot of the restaurants getting in the Christmas spirit, even though it's ahead of Thanksgiving. It seems like now everyone's in the pop-up bar phase of life when you go anywhere. So we went to the Strip one night, and then we went to Redhead, which this is their first year. Yeah, this was their first year of having like a little pop-up area in the bottom of the restaurant. So that was a lot of fun and kind of got us in the holiday spirit. So
nice. Did you have any hottie toddies?
No, Mike got a cranberry orange mule. I was not in the mood for anything sweet, but he liked that instead. He recommended it to others. So
delish. That's awesome.
What about you?
I've got a couple pop-up bars I'm going to check out here in the season, but we had a celebration of one of our friends became a U.S. citizen. This has been something that's been on his radar for years, and that happened as of Friday, so we got to celebrate him, which was a lot of fun. Cool. Then I got to hang out with some of my girlfriends on Saturday, so pretty low-key weekend.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We've been fortunate with the mild weather. I hear everyone's talking about the forecast for the winter. I don't know. Did you watch this thing where they give
There's something happening this weekend. I'm not really too excited about it. Time to go to Florida.
Oh, yeah, right. There's some kind of long-range forecast that everyone's been talking about. I don't know, where it tells you like, January is going to be this, February is going to be this. I don't know if I believe that ever.
Isn't that called the Farmer's Almanac? And is it ever right? I don't know. So, too funny.
Yeah.
Well, we've had over 42 guests on this show, which is pretty cool. So we've been doing this since June 3rd, Kelly.
I know. It'll be 6 months, believe it or not.
Unbelievable.
Time flies, right?
Yeah. And our favorite Taryn Pullman was on here twice.
Yes. So Taryn was on here 2 times. And she was here first for GoodellNet, our very first episode. And then she came back with Covenant House.
And they just had the sleep out.
Yes.
So she just finished that up. Hopefully they raised the amount of funds that they were looking to raise.
Yeah. So for those who don't know about the sleep out with Covenant House, they basically try to raise money for homelessness, awareness of homelessness in our region. And people volunteer to raise money by sleeping outside all night for one night, which, for someone that's homeless, that's just a regular routine. And for those of us who aren't, it's obviously a huge task to undergo. And it really does give you that sense of, oh my gosh, these people are doing this every night. And I think she did it the night where it was raining.
Cold. Yeah, gross.
And I think I saw on Facebook, she said something like her tent collapsed or something, but she made it and she raised money and awareness. So that's an awesome thing. And maybe her sixth year or something like that.
Yeah. And I love that they focus on the teens because it was kind of interesting how many folks are out there and they're struggling with homelessness that are teens. I was not aware of those statistics.
And I think in that episode when they were here, Dr. M was with her. Yeah. They did talk about there's a bit of a gap from the, you have the young ones and then the adults, but there's that gap with the middle age, I should say, of like teenage years, like you just said. So yes. We also want to take a second to welcome one of our newest sponsors, MSML Wealth Management. They will be supporting the show, and we're extremely excited to have them on board. They are actually our 6th sponsor, which is tremendous.
I know, it's huge.
It's huge. And
we're getting one a month, Kelly. Yeah. Let's go.
Let's go. And we will have another one to announce here soon as well. So thank you, MSMF Wealth Management. And just a little side note, they've been our financial advisors, Mike and myself, for a number of years. And before that, my father also uses them as well. So it's a multi-generational relationship for us. And we have great things to say about them and look forward to one of these days interviewing, hopefully Nick Mangle, who we know personally, and then another coworker there. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. And last week, as a recap, we got to have Jan McGowan with the Elasticell president of St. Louis. Wasn't her story phenomenal? Like all that she's endured and been able to grow her company through devastation, losing an entire home, all of the things, but then seeing how she put things into perspective, like family's the only thing that really matters. I didn't want anything in the house. I just want to make sure my dogs, my pets, and, her girls were at school and all of her kids were good and her husband was okay. Like just phenomenal.
Yeah, if you didn't get a chance to listen, Jane and her family experienced a house fire that was extremely devastating. And, in times of crisis, you really get down to what is important in this moment. Mm-hmm. It's not anything material. And she was able to get all of her animals out of the house. Yeah. One she didn't think was going to make it, but they ended up rescuing this dog. So it was a really powerful story about just, understanding what's valuable to you and being able to lift yourself back up and your entire family. And she went on to now run a business, very successful business.
Came from manufacturing. Now she's in construction. Top women-owned business in construction for sure. She always gets all these accolades, but she didn't announce any of them. I'm like, I've seen you on that stage at AGC so many times.
Yeah, she's really just relaxed. She's one of those people that don't need the recognition. She just does her job, and she's happy to share her story, and really just thrilled that the business has grown. And she was very humble, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
And I'm interested to see if she goes down Mike's idea about that lightweight concrete on the dock. That was pretty fascinating.
I mean, we're surrounded by concrete at the
Absolutely.
lakes, all the lakes.
You don't want wood. No, it's too much maintenance.
And then they flipped over to they had all that styrofoam under
right,
and now they have
capsulated foam.
Yeah. So that would be an interesting thing to explore for sure. So aside from that, I am excited to announce that I started in a new role. I'm going to be a practice manager for Rodney Miller, who is a certified EOS implementer and the founder of Perfect Aim. It's been exciting. So I started really at the beginning of the month, and this is just a part-time opportunity for me, and kind of dipping my toe back into the working world after the boys have gotten older. And it's funny how things have led this direction, because it's, all about entrepreneurialism and just it fits. I guess the timing was good, and I'm excited to get to know Rodney and all that he's offering his clients and learning all things EOS. It's like a whole new language for me. I'm learning all the acronyms and the tools and systems. So it's been a really exciting learning opportunity for me, and I'm excited.
We'll have to get you into Grit and have you facilitate a workshop.
Yeah. I don't know about that. He would be good at that. I can do the behind the scenes.
There we go.
And that's the other thing I've learned over the years, is that I'm more of the operational type. I like the behind the scenes, the getting things, kind of buttoned up behind the curtain, if you will. So it's going to be a really good pairing, I think, between Rodney and myself. And
awesome.
He's coming out with a book in 26.
Cool.
And the goal is to also launch a podcast. So what's cool is I've learned a lot from this podcast.
So
we'll see, what I can do to help assist him there. So
it's exciting.
Yeah, thanks. And you've been up to a lot too. Tell us.
I'm working on my 8th book. I'm actually recruiting all of the authors right now. It's on mental fortitude. So how we have those self-limiting beliefs and how we have to really bulldoze those mental barriers to get to the next levels. So really excited about that. Hoping to kick things off in January with this new cohort of authors, and constantly recruiting new, members in the Grit community, and had an awesome lunch last week, Wednesday. We had a great facilitator talking about authentic leading authentically. And then I had a private VIP kind of Vanity Fair photo shoot. And one of my only male Grit members was there. So it was really fun.
I love that. And Alex, you mentioned.
Alex, he was going to be on our show here in a little while.
That's cool. I'm excited to meet him. And I did see some of those photos online. Tell me about the photo shoot. Like, what did you do?
Yeah, so this lady, she's incredibly talented, and she specializes in more of like a luxury feel. So she gifted a VIP photo shoot for all of my Grit members and my VIP members and my future authors. So Alex is actually going to be a future author. So those that were able to attend in November were a part of this Vanity Fair photo shoot. So, and then we're going to do another one in December. So
awesome. You did an event, or you were speaking at an event where they did something like that, right? Where they had the photo shoot going on or something?
I did that actually this summer. That's my new headshot at the Lake of the Ozarks. Yeah. So I was a part of the Missouri Bankers Association, and they gifted headshots for everybody there. It's pretty cool.
That is cool. Yeah. Is that like a trend?
I've never seen it before, but I love it because
I do too.
Because I've done photo shoots for headshots, and sometimes like hit or miss. It depends on the photographer, but the ones that they've had have been amazing.
And
so
they just probably rapid fire those out.
They do.
Model for them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Either they're gifting.
Oh, you're talking about the reality show. We had a bunch of photography reach. That's what you're talking about.
I wasn't talking about that, but tell us about it.
It's getting exciting. We just got the promotions actually yesterday for like our intro. So it's like, welcome to Midwest Women Rising, Jennifer Bardot. I'm like, this is legit. This is cool.
So are you finished filming?
No, we're going to be filming all the way up till March. So every time we meet, we've met 3 different times. Last week, Monday, we were out at the Beale Mansion, which was pretty cool. So we did 2 episodes there. We're actually going to go to Ballpark Village, and we're going to do an episode there. So I've been trying to plug in our connections. I have Clementine, who's going to be donating some ice cream. So we're going to do some B-reels for that. So it's pretty cool. We get to represent St. Louis.
So everyone's from St. Louis?
Not everybody. No. A lot of them are from Illinois. Some of them are from Fulton, Missouri, but it's all women from the Midwest. And they're all in business. They either own their own, they all own their own businesses, but yeah.
So exciting.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And you know how I've been sick for like 2 weeks. So I had to like really like pull my bootstraps up to show up on that Monday and like give it.
Yeah,
know?
if you weren't watching last week, Jen was in
I
the
was like
corner
coughing in the
hacking.
background.
No,
I
she's
was.
trying to be so polite, and we're
It was
people
rough.
are digging in purses for cough drops,
Yeah.
and so that was actually
I couldn't breathe.
So you sound much better today.
Well, I feel much better.
Good.
Yeah. My energy's kind of back.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and focus on our Ask and Elevate question of the week. Usually Mike takes this for us, but I'm going to jump in since he is not here. And this week we have a woman by the name of Jasmine. She's from Brentwood. And her question that she sent in is, what helps you stay calm and centered when everything around you feels chaotic? Gosh, is this at home or at work?
Oh my gosh, right?
That's my daily life, honestly. Yeah. Jen, do you have any suggestions?
This is funny. So I have a great group coaching program where it's all peer led. And this is one of the topics we were talking about yesterday.
Really?
It's about the chaos, like when the chaos hits, it's really hard to have clarity and stay on track and stay focused. That's generally when you derail and you get distracted. And I've learned that about myself, like personally, whenever that happens, I have too much chaos and it's like feeling like a whirlwind, either personally or professionally. That's when I have to be ultra focused and ultra intentional about everything that I'm doing, and just really making sure I'm managing my calendar and I'm managing my self-care and my awareness. So I think once you have that awareness that you have this chaos that's entered your life, just remaining focused and intentional about whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, but making sure you're taking the time to have that self-care and that reflection. But that's funny. We were just talking about this.
Yeah, well, hey, it's timely and it's obviously on other people's minds. And, for me, over the years, I've learned I don't know if triage is the right word, but you have to be able to prioritize all the things that come at you. And sometimes that is more difficult depending on what it is exactly. But, having the ability to set things aside and say, okay, I can get to that later versus the things that really do need your time and attention. And a lot of times I need a list. I like to check things off. That's just how my brain works. Do you have a visual thing, or is it more
all
of a
mental?
thing?
It's all mental with me. Yeah. My dyslexia, it's goofy braining,
Yeah.
See, I just made a new word, braining.
Braining. Hey, whatever. No, I like that, braining.
Yeah.
I like to have a list, like I said, to check things off. I'm a spreadsheet person. So, everyone's brains are a little bit different, but it is nice to say, okay, I have completed some things that helps me feel like I'm moving the needle and, getting things in the right direction. So Jasmine, I hope that helps answer your question. For those of you out there who have additional questions, you can always send them to us on our Elevate and Lead at Info LinkedIn page, or you can send us an email at elevateandleadinfo@gmail.com, and we will get those questions answered.
And I have a quote that Jasmine might like. So move like everything is going to work out, because it's your mindset is your engine, your faith is your fuel. And the second you stop guessing is when you really get things done. So speak up, walk it, own it, and don't doubt your vision.
Just a lot of
don't get derailed.
Pushing forward.
Exactly.
Pushing forward, because it can get overwhelming, especially this time of year when you're dealing with holidays and just people's. It's not even the busyness of the holidays. It's some people are like checked out. You know what I mean? It's more like you're not going to get things finished or done right now in a lot of cases, because some people, like when I worked in pharma, they were done 2 weeks out of the year, toward the end of the year, like done, they're out.
Yeah.
So don't expect anything.
See you next year.
Yeah. So you're dealing with a lot of that too.
Yeah.
Okay. I digress. Anyway, the next thing we're going to do is introduce our guest. His name is Tom Wiley. Welcome, Tom. He is the executive director of the December 5th Fund. And I was introduced to Tom through another one of our sister shows. Jared, who is from Too Many Men on the Mic, said, hey, you need to have Tom on the show. So we had a call months ago just to get to know each other. And here he is joining us today. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Sure.
I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be here and talk about the December 5th Fund.
Yeah,
awesome.
We would love to learn more about you and all about the December 5th Fund. I thought I'd give you the floor and see if you would like to give us a little bit more about your background.
So I'll go right into what the December 5th Fund is all about. So the vision at the December 5th Fund is to forget cancer just for one day. And that was inspired by the last great day that my children and I had with my late wife, Laura, before she passed away from cancer. That day was December 5th of 2015. And right around 6 a.m., I saw Laura getting up, and I thought she was just going to the bathroom. And so I closed my eyes and fell back asleep. didn't wake up for another couple hours, which is kind of weird. And the first thing I could smell were pancakes. When you're going through a cancer diagnosis and cancer treatment, um, breakfast is usually a bowl of cereal, because it's you're kind of focused on a lot of other things. And I knew something was different about. So I got up, went into the kitchen, and first thing Laura told me was how she was pain free, how she couldn't feel any pain in her legs. For someone who could barely get out of bed because at that point cancer metastasized to her bones and to her hips, and suddenly she's telling me that she's pain free. I mean, it was truly it's really a blessing from God. And we did something we hadn't done in a really long time. We sat down, we had a family breakfast together, and we didn't talk about doctor's appointments. We didn't talk about treatment schedules. We just kind of just hung out as a family. And later that morning, we put up Christmas decorations, and I was downstairs getting more decorations, and I hear all this noise, like squealing and banging. And my first reaction at that point, because of everything that was going on in our life, was to just scream up there and tell the kids to, hey, keep it down. Mommy's sleeping. But then I remembered Laura was having a good day, and I went upstairs, turned the corner, and there they were dancing.
Oh, I love it.
Yes. Just having the time of their lives. And I just stood there and I took it all in, because, I knew that, one, that this might not happen again. And two, this was like really special. At the time I don't think I realized that would be the last time that I watched my children dance with their mother, but it was really special. And that's kind of how the rest of the day kind of played out. We went to the mall and saw Santa Claus. We walked around the mall again. For someone that could barely walk, and suddenly they're walking around the mall, it was pretty special. We saw Santa Claus. We saw the lights at Tillis Park. It was just this day full of small little memories that at the time just kind of placed some normalcy in our lives. But afterwards, I realized it was a lot more. We never had a day like that again. Laura passed away about a month and a half after that. The next day, December 6th, she stayed in bed all day, and her health just rapidly declined. And after she passed away, I kept going back to that day, how special it was, kept going back to the support from the community. And that's where I came up with the idea for the December 5th Fund, which is to give families whose lives are affected by cancer just a day to do whatever they want. And then while they're out enjoying that day, we send a team back to their home and we take care of all those chores that get ignored.
Wow.
And that's the December 5th Fund. That is it in a nutshell.
It's beautiful. That's a beautiful
Thank
story.
you.
It's touching. It's very heartfelt and sad, obviously,
Yeah.
because you went through a horrible time, but you've been able to go back and say, what can we do to make those people that have gone through something so tragic, give them that little glimmer of hope, even if for a day. And I love that. I love that approach.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
And the journey, how did you decide you wanted to turn this into a business or a nonprofit?
So obviously the journey was tough. When you lose, a loved one to cancer, and even to back it up a little bit more, when you see cancer just consume someone and then consume your life, and then watch them just slowly deteriorate, it pays a toll on everybody. And then suddenly when that person's no longer in your life and they're just not here anymore, there's this profound heaviness that gets a hold of you after someone passes away, and it can take you to a dark place, or you can try to not try. You can like you said earlier, put on your bootstraps and just dig yourself out of it, and try to do something positive with it. And when I first came up with this idea, that's really what it was. It was just an idea. I kept going back to that day, how special it was. Kept going back to the friends who would show up to my home and clean it and do grocery shopping for us. And that's when it turned into more than an idea. And I started talking to friends about it, would say, hey, this is kind of what I'm thinking. And after I would tell them the idea, none of them would be like, oh, that's crazy. They would pause and they would just kind of nod their head and like, okay, that's actually, there's something there, So I pitched, I guess is probably the best way you could put that, because I was in advertising and marketing for 20 plus years prior to starting this organization, to my closest friends. And eventually they became my board members. And we took that crazy idea that helped me turn it into something, tangible, I guess. So like a working business model. And we had our first fundraising event, which was 125 of my friends and family. And we raised a little over 10 grand just that night. 2 months after that, we helped our first family, and they, the friends were there, the community was there to help us. And that day in itself is another like completely wild story, which could take up like 30, 40 minutes, but we won't get into that. But it proved that this crazy idea of taking this amazing day that I had as a family and then bringing that community support, it proved that it actually has legs and it can work. And from there, it just kind of took off, and just really has really grown since we helped our first family December 17th of 2016.
That's incredible. And it's coming up soon on the 10-year anniversary of your December 5th.
We are coming up on our 10-year, and we've actually started thinking about some cool things that we want to do. But since then we've helped over 125 families with various degrees of support and volunteer efforts and things like that as well.
And what a cool way to have a legacy dedicated to your wife. Seeing the mission and how you've been able to just ripple effect, help all those families. That's incredible. I love it.
It is. It really is fantastic.
Yeah, when I first started this organization, it truly was, it was to deal with my grief. It was to help me process, that profound loss. But it was also to add some positivity in my life too, because you can go one direction or the other very easily, and, I decided I wasn't going to, go that dark path. I needed to go, something that was going to be productive and hopefully inspiring, and, just kind of took it from there.
It's fascinating. I had a grandma who had cancer, so I watched her go through remission, and then she had gotten again, but she passed at 62. And I just remember watching this woman who was, 6 foot tall, slowly deteriorate, and it was really hard to witness. So I can understand your perspective, and I love that you've been able to turn such challenging times into such purposeful, meaningful opportunities for others. I just love that, how you were able to transition that.
Thank you.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's incredible. It takes a lot of mental fortitude
Right.
to get through something that tragic and turn into something so positive and influential, and the waterfall, kind of the waterfall trickle down effect. And
it's beautiful.
It's absolutely fantastic.
Well, we are going to take a short break. We will be right back. You're listening to Elevate and Lead.
Welcome back to Elevate and Lead. This is Kelly Chandler. I am joined today by Jennifer Bardot. Mike is not with us today, but he wants everyone to have a very happy Thanksgiving this week. And we will get back to Tom Wiley from the December 5th Fund. But first, we are going to take a moment to thank one of our wonderful sponsors who has been with us basically from the very beginning of our show. And that is Audi Kirkwood across the street here from the studio. It's here, the season of Audi sales event at Audi Kirkwood. And you are not going to want to miss these deals. Now is your chance to shop their huge selection of the best Audi has to offer and get up to $5,000 off select new Audi models. Whether you are looking for something sleek and sporty or the perfect family SUV, they have the selection and the savings you will love during the season of Audi sales event for up to $5,000 off select new Audi models. Go see Neil and the entire crew at Audi Kirkwood on Manchester Road or shop their full inventory online at audikirkwood.com. Audi Kirkwood, expect the exceptional.
I think that would be an amazing Christmas gift. I want one of the cars with the big giant red bow.
That happened to me one time in my life.
Oh my
Mike
goodness.
did that. It wasn't an Audi, sorry, Neil. But it was really cool. And I was actually more fascinated by the bow. Like, where did you get this bow? But it was really cool.
That's
it was a very
magical.
neat thing. And
Nice job, Mike.
yeah, it was good. It was a good year. And he did a very nice thing for our family. So, and of course it wasn't just mine. We share it. But thank you again, Audi Kirkwood, for your sponsorship and continued support of the entire radio station. Okay, we're going to step back into the conversation with Tom Wiley. And one thing we didn't get to before the break was walking through some of those details of what you and your organization do behind the scenes for these families.
So the nomination comes through on our website at december5th.org. We review it, and then we send back an assessment form for the primary point of contact to fill out. Once they fill that out, we then set up our initial meeting where it's either with someone who's living in the home, or it's like a grandma, brother, sister, someone close to the family. And it's during that meeting that we kind of figure out like what life was like prior to a cancer diagnosis with this family. Like what did they like to do? What were their interests, favorite restaurants, places to go to, and also just kind of like where their current needs are back at home. If there's anything specific, like the house is not getting cleaned and, things like that. So we take those notes, and then we schedule a property review where the team and I go out, we take pictures, we take notes of everything we want to do to this home. And by the time we're done with that property review, we know exactly how many volunteers we need. 20, could be upwards to 50. It just depends on the condition of the home. And so we take that back, and we have a formal planning session as a team where we go through all of our notes from the meeting with the family, go through all of our notes with the property review, and we start mapping out a day, like what that looks like for these families. So we plan their day first at a high level. It always starts with a breakfast, because that's how my December 5th started. And that's, that's the most important meal of the day, correct? Right?
Yeah.
So, and then we just map it out for the family, and we put it in an offer letter form. But then we go during that planning session, we a list of all the supplies and everything we need to purchase for that day as well. So we send the offer letter to the family, and they review it, they approve it, and then after that, we start locking everything in. We start purchasing things. We start calling vendors. We start lining up events. We take care of everything, and then we keep the family in the loop. Just letting them know, like, obviously you want to communicate because this is a pretty big day. And then a week before the family goes out, they get their final itinerary, and at that point, we'll have all of our volunteers lined up. Then the family they show up to their first location. We show up as a team back at their home. Every volunteer that shows up that day already knows what tasks they're assigned to. And we get to work, and we just completely transform this home while this family's out having an amazing day. Family comes home, and they see, some of the things that we had listed out that we were going to do, but then there's all this other stuff that we do as well. That's kind of a surprise for all of them. Amazing to see these before and after photos. We put that on Facebook too. So that initial property view really gives us that glimpse into what life is like right there in that moment. Some people, we joked like you clean before the cleaning company actually shows up. Some people will pick up a little bit, but most of them won't because they're too busy. They're trying to get their loved one to, chemotherapy treatment, trying to get their kids off to school. So we take those photos and it's, you could see that these, they need a lot of help. And then we put the after photos. Once the volunteers finish up all the work, I go back through the home, take all the photos again. And we put those on social media and you can see the transformation of where they were and where they are today. And that's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing.
I'm sure. Now tell me what your Facebook page is.
Just the December 5th Fund.
With a the December 5th Fund. Cool. I want to check out the before and afters. I bet they are huge.
Yeah, there's probably 30 to 40 albums of families before and after photos. There's definitely quite a few in there that I call our portfolio pieces.
Sure.
That you definitely, you're like, man, those volunteers really came through that day and just knocked it out of the park.
That's amazing. You literally eliminate the chaos from their question earlier.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's the chaos eliminator.
Right. It's perfect. I mean, you're not only giving them it sounds like almost like a mini Make-A-Wish combined with this like transformation of
extreme home makeover.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So that's actually what I like when people are like Make-A-Wish. I go like Make-A-Wish, but with extreme home makeover, just not without the 6-figure budget. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Those shows are hilarious. But that's so wonderful. I mean, they're not worried about how the house looks. They can barely get through the day, probably just managing, like you said, all the tasks of getting people here, there, and everywhere. So
and
awesome.
I live that life. That was us from 2013 until Laura passed away. I thought I had it all together as a caregiver. I thought I was keeping up with everything, but I wasn't. Like the house was slowly just falling apart. Like you can't do everything yourself as a caregiver. But once I opened up, once I was actually vulnerable and said, hey, I need help. That's when all these people just showed up out of nowhere and would just clean my home and would just do all this work for me. And that left just a huge impression on me, which is now carried over to this volunteer aspect of our organization, because these volunteers, we also have repeat volunteers, but one of the things that about this is they show up, they know what tasks they're going to do, but then once they're there, they complete the task and they want to do more, and they want to do a lot more. So they take like some very simple makeover and turn it into something pretty amazing. And it's awesome to see how invested our volunteers get into this whole process.
So to all of our listeners who are sitting here thinking about, hey, I would love to donate, I would love to volunteer, what does that look like and how can they get involved?
So go on the website and go on the volunteer tab, and that's just sign up, and you'll get an email back, just kind of explaining what a typical volunteer day looks like. But right now you'll get one that'll say, hey, our volunteer season's winding down because we're getting into winter months. And you can't do a lot to a yard in the winter. It's just, kind of hard. We've tried to do indoor only volunteer efforts. But again, just because it's the winter and, you've got a lot of immune compromised people that you're dealing with. So a lot of germs, so we typically kind of wind down from a home makeover perspective from about December until February. But then we pick back up and we just go full speed all the way until November. And it's, there was one point where we were probably doing 4 volunteer efforts in a month.
Wow.
Which was a little taxing on us budget wise,
Oh my goodness.
From a revenue standpoint. But it's also pretty awesome. We can help all those families.
That's awesome. And I was sitting here thinking, as you mentioned, it's really difficult to be so vulnerable and ask for help.
Yeah.
So if you have a family that you want to nominate, but you're not the actual person that's going through that, is that possible too?
It is. Yes. So on the nomination tab, there's quite a bit of information. Because one of the biggest things we need with these nominations is we need to make sure whoever is doing it either knows someone or is that person that can give us access to the home. Because if we don't have access to the home, it just kind of everything falls flat, I guess is probably the best way to put it. And that does stall quite a few nominations, because you'll get you'll get some neighbor that lives 5 blocks away that their kid went to school with the other kid, and they're trying to help. And they're like, oh, I'm going to nominate him. But then when they realize everything that's involved, they're like, they mean well, but they can't actually help this family, get one of these experiences and volunteer efforts that we do. So it's it's really important that we get access to the home.
Okay, that makes sense. I was so curious about that.
Yeah, and would you recommend they have the discussion prior to, or do people try to do it as more of a surprise, or that's?
Yeah, so I would recommend that you have the discussion with one person who lives in that home, and then that person can keep it a surprise to everyone else. Because we have had a handful of meetings where within 5 minutes of the meeting, I know that this meeting is going to be over in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because when you start asking questions and they're like, well, I really don't know that, or, I can maybe check on that, and you're like, yeah, this meeting's over.
Good intentions, but this isn't going to work.
You wrap it up and you're polite and you're like, look, we really need, dad to be involved on this call, or mom to be, or grandma, so, because that's how we really learn about these families, learn about what they like to do pre-cancer diagnosis, so we can give them just a perfect day to be together as a family.
I love that.
And are they out pretty much? Like, what are the hours you out for? Like 8? Does it depend on the person and what they're capable of?
Typically, it will follow this format. So the family leaves usually about 8 o'clock, because then as the volunteers, we like to get there about 8:15, 8:30 to get to work. Then we plan it to where the family's typically wrapped up around 2 to 3 p.m. So then that's when they're home. I try to get out of there. I try to be the last one to leave by like 1:30, 2 o'clock. Occasionally that doesn't quite work, but they come home, they see everything, and then we like to give the family a couple hours, like 3-4 hours, just to rest. And then we'll usually do like an evening event, for the family. Like one time we did a private party at a Mexican restaurant, and did build your own tacos and some adult beverages and stuff like that. And it was like 30 of their closest friends, like a surprise party, things like that. Well, we'll work with some like entertainment venues that, like with video games and stuff like that. And, the family shows up in the evening and have a nice little, kind of celebration and stuff like that as well.
That's awesome.
It is. And so smart, because you've lived through it. They're not going to go 8 to 8 kind of a situation.
Yeah.
You need to rest.
There's any consideration. We asked her in the meeting, like, are there fatigue issues, mobility issues, dietary restrictions, all of that, because depending on the cancer diagnosis and the treatment they're going through too, we have to take all that in consideration.
Yes.
Sometimes like we have to make sure that, the venue is, all venues should be wheelchair accessible, but make sure they have a wheelchair on hand, in case, the person gets weak and they need, to be carted around. There's a lot we do need to take into consideration, for these families, just because of what they're going through.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. So what has been the most surprising in regards to how the St. Louis community has shown up and really helped you bring your vision and your mission to life?
It's real, like one of I still talk about it to this day, is, which I touched on a little bit earlier, is one, people believing in this, this mission and vision. But when these volunteers show up, that, they know their task, but they always want to do so much more. And it just doesn't stop at, mowing a lawn, cleaning a bedroom. We'll have a volunteer that's like, I'm actually an electrician and they've got some electrical issues here. Or, hey, they've got some drywall issues. I can patch this up. And you're like, okay, what do you need? And they're like, hey, they'll make out a list. We'll run out. We'll buy all the supplies for them. It's just incredible to see people who just show up and aren't there to do the bare minimum. They want to do so much more, because they kind of get an idea of what these families are going through. Because that's another thing about what we do. like when you volunteer for us, it allows you to step out of your box. Like my hot water heater went out last week, and I know that's not the end of the world because it was expensive, but I've been through way worse. And it puts things into perspective for people where they realize that there's like they were sweating the small stuff of like maybe the fridge is going out, but then they walk into this family's home and they see everything that's going on. They go into that master bedroom and there's medical equipment, there's medicine, the house is in disarray, and they see these pictures of this family that, it's a beautiful family, but they're faced with this terrible diagnosis, and it just puts a lot of things into perspective for them. And then they come back, these volunteers, and they keep coming back. And then these families that you help, they volunteer. And, we had a volunteer effort over the summer for 48 people. And I think we had 20 people from one family that we had helped back in 2017, who they just rallied their entire family. And it was just so awesome to see them paying that forward and how they still continue to pay that forward. And that's really kind of what surprises me is just how many good people there are out there, who show up, but just really show up and just really put it all out there and give their all just for a family they don't even know.
Have you thought about tapping into any of the high schools that do volunteer hours? Okay, I was gonna say because they'd be great. More the physical stuff that.
Yeah, I've signed quite a few volunteer forms for high schools.
Okay.
One of the things that we try to do, but it's always a timing thing, because like with elementary school kids, like that's like herding kittens.
Oh, man.
I was thinking like Eagle Scouts.
And
they're the older ones.
They're everywhere. But so what we did do a couple times were like leaf rake ups for some of our D5F families, and it worked. You got about an hour to work with them.
Yeah.
So if you give them donuts, you get about an hour and a half. So,
sugar high.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Start with the donuts.
But exactly when those kids are done, and you're like, all right, let's
Next crew.
Yeah,
Bye. Thank you.
exactly. But the high school kids, they're good for hauling junk, because that's another thing we do too, is we have the families, put Post-it notes on stuff that they don't want anymore, like an old couch or, whatever. And those high school students are just great to bring that to the curb. And then we work with just an awesome junk hauling guy, Tank Hughes. He's amazing. And he comes out and he takes care of it for them. He basically, like, the best way to put this is like we're like the little elves that show up, and then when the family comes home, like I don't want any trace of waste or anything at that family's home. And that one takes volunteers who are very hardworking, but also working with vendors who understand those timelines, who aren't going to phone you at 1 o'clock and go, hey, we're 3 hours away. Do you mind if, and then next thing you know, I'm sitting at a house till 5 p.m. The family's coming home. They got this whole yard full of junk. That just doesn't look, this doesn't look good. So.
You want the reveal like they do on the show.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
You put on all this time and effort and you want them to see it the way you want them to. So that's so cool.
You are like Santa. You just little with all your L's. It's incredible. It's so amazing.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so what are some of the stories you'd like to share? Like, is there one that stands out or anything like that you want to share of these volunteer experiences where you've pulled people together and something surprise happened? Or I don't know if there's an example I'm throwing at you.
Oh, sure.
Kind of ad hoc, but
really, I think the days that really kind of stick with me are the ones that very closely followed, my story. I still go back to a family, the Johannes family that we helped I believe it was December of 2017. It was either 2017 or 2018. the dad had pancreatic cancer.
That's the worst because it goes
yeah,
fast.
It was, yes. And it was a December volunteer effort. There was a little bit of snow on the ground. But, you know, it was one of those things where we were just wondering if we were going to have enough time, not time like volunteer wise, but would the dad make it? But he rallied that day, and his family had just an amazing day with him, and he passed away a week later.
That's beautiful.
After that, you know, but we were able to go into that home that day too. And, you know, granted, there's not a lot you can do with a yard, but we went out and bought all these Christmas pines and Christmas decorations and completely transformed it into this winter wonderland in the back. You know, the front completely organized their home, the kitchen drawers, and the family shared videos with us later on about the dad walking through and looking at all of it. And you could just see the gratitude, you know, so that's definitely one of the volunteer days that really sticks in my heart.
So I love that. It absolutely is. You're such a change maker, and you're changing lives, and
Thank you.
You're bringing such positivity in such dark times.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Thank you.
Well, we want to thank Tom Wiley for being our guest today. Hope you guys will check out the December 5th Fund, and you will donate, volunteer, follow, like, share, nominate. And thank you so much for coming on. And
Thanks for having me.
Being such an inspiration.
Oh, thank you.
Very, very cool. Next week, we are going to have Jim Roush he's the CEO of WarCloud. I actually met him. He's a Titan 100. He's incredible. We're actually going to do things a little bit different. It's going to be virtual. Yeah. So we're not going to be in the studio. So we will see you next week. You're listening to the Lou Information Station live on demand at louinfo.com. And this is Elevate and Lead. Have a great Thanksgiving.